So we're gonna continue reading this Bible, Proverbs chapter 6. It says, "My child, if you have put up security for friends that are agreed to guarantee the debt of a stranger, if you have trapped yourself by your agreement and are caught by what you said, follow my advice and save yourself, for you have placed yourself at your friend's mercy by," it's probably saying like, by borrowing money from somebody, you put yourself in mercy and that person's in position because now you have to pay that person back and be on your word, which many people don't pay you back. Like, they're asked to borrow money and then they'll say they pay you back, but they don't pay you back. They agreed to guarantee the debt of a stranger. If you have trapped yourself by agreement and are caught by what you said, follow my advice and save yourself, it says. For you have placed yourself at your friend's mercy. Now swallow your pride, it says, and go and beg to have your name erased. Don't put it off, do it now. Don't rest until you do, and save yourself like a gazelle, escaping from a hunter, like a bird fleeing from a net. Take a lesson from the ants, you lazy bones. Learn from their ways and become wise. Though they have no prince or governor, the insects that run the ground, you see them working, like doing stuff, whatever they're doing in the ground, or a rear to make them work. They labor hard all summer, gathering food for the winter. And the basic says in Proverbs chapter 6:1 verse 5, these verses are not against helping someone financially, but against retaining one's financial resources and acting in irresponsible ways that could lead to squandering money. It is important to maintain a balance between generosity and good stewardship. Not have bad motives if you're helping somebody out, not expecting something when you chose to help that person out of your decision. Because when you're helping somebody, you're supposed to be doing it in good motives, not bad motives of expecting something, like a lot of people do. Like when you're homeless, like in a situation, like I've been in many situations in life and spiritual experiences, on the street, homeless, trusting people to help me when I was homeless, for them taking advantage of that opportunity when I was homeless, of that situation. Yeah, they was buying me food, they was buying me stuff, but they was using it to some type of advantage of thinking like, oh, maybe I'm going to get romance out of this situation or something, or etc. It is important to maintain a balance between generosity and good stewardship. God wants us to help our friends and those who are in need, but He does not promise to cover the cost of every unwise commitment we make. We should act responsibly so our own families do not suffer. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6-11. The law of few moments of sleep are delicious. We savor them as we resist beginning another workday. But these verses warn against giving in the temptation of laziness, of sleeping instead of working. This does not mean we should never rest. God gave us the Sabbath, a weekly day of example of rest and restoration. But we should not rest when we should be working. The ant is used as an example because this tiny creature utilizes its energy and resources independently. If its laziness turns us from our responsibilities, poverty may soon bar us from the legitimate rest we should enjoy. And then it says, take a lesson from the ant, and then continuing to Proverbs chapter 6, verse 13. She threw her arms around him and kissed him, and with a brazen look she said, I just made my peace offerings and fulfilled my vows. You're the one I was looking for. I came out to find you, and here you are. My bed is spreading with beautiful blankets with colored sheets of Egyptian linen. Is that? Yeah, it's Proverbs 6. I prefer my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let's drink our fill of the love until morning, and let's enjoy each other's careless caresses, for my husband is not home. Is this when a woman cheats on her husband when her husband is at work? Don't you see a lot? When the husband's like working hard and the woman decides like, I can't be without because he's at work, etc. That's why there's a timing limit of how to make sure the limits of spending time with your family even though you work. So, whatever. Come, let's drink our fill of love until the morning, and let's enjoy each other's caresses, for my husband is not home, she said. He's away on a long trip. He has taken a wallet full of money within him and won't return until later this month. So she seduced him with her pretty speech and enticed him with her flattery. He followed her at once, like an ox going to the slaughter. He was like a stag caught in a trap, awaiting the arrow that would pierce its heart. He was like a bird flying into a snare, a little knowing it would cost him his life. So listen to me, my sons, and pay attention to my words. Don't let your heart stray away toward her. Don't wander down her wayward path, for she has been the ruin of many, many men have been with her victims. Her house is the road to the grave, and her bedroom is the den of death. And that was a Proverbs chapter 6. That was Proverbs chapter 7 about the immoral woman. So get the Proverbs chapter 6 verse 9. But you lazy bones, how long will you sleep? When will you wake up? A little extra sleep, a little more slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. Then the poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. Secondly will attack you like an animal robber. What are worthless and wicked people like? They are constant liars, singling their deceit with a wink of the eye and nod of the foot, of the wiggle of the fingers. Their perverted hearts plot evil, and they constantly stir up trouble. But they will be destroyed suddenly, broken in an instant beyond all hope of healing. There are 6 things the Lord hates, no 7 things he detests: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that kill the innocent, a heart that plots evil, feet that race to do wrong, a false witness who pours out lies, a person who sows into discord in a family. My son, obey your father's commands and don't neglect your mother's instruction, and keep their words always in your heart and tie them around your neck. When you walk their counsel, I will lead you. When you sleep, they will protect you. When you wake up, they will advise you. For their command is a lamp, and their instruction is a light. Their correction and discipline is the way up to life. It will keep you from the immoral woman, from the smooth tongue of a promised woman. Don't lust for her beauty, and don't let her coy glances seduce you. So it says, it's natural and good for children as they grow toward adulthood to become increasingly independent of their parents. Young adults, however, should take care not to turn a deaf ear to their parents, to reject their advice just when it is needed most. If you are struggling with a decision or looking for insight, check with your parents or other older adults who know you well. Their extra years of experience may have given them the wisdom you seek. Some people argue that breaking God's provision against sexual sin is all right if nobody gets hurt. In truth, somebody always gets hurt. In the case of adultery, spouses are devastated and children are scared, even if the partners themselves escape disease and unattended pregnancy that may lose their ability to feel free, to feel true sexual desire, to trust, and to entirely open with another person. Relationships with children are weakening. The betrayed spouse loses self-worth. God's laws are not arbitrary. They do not forbid sexual pleasure within marriage. Rather, they warn us against destroying ourselves through unwise actions or running ahead of God's timetable. As it says here in this article, lust is an unnatural, immoral, or greedy desire for sex. That's going around a lot. Like, it's a temptation, and the biggest temptation, like the biggest, like, fret, sex. Regardless, as a warning sign of danger again ahead. When you notice that you are sexually attracted to a person or preoccupied with fantasies of him or her, your desires may quickly degenerate into lust. Ask God to help you have inappropriate desires before lustful ones draw you into sin. So this was a life application Bible where it has a little like article thingies in there. So we're going to go to Proverbs chapter 7 where it talks about the immoral woman, another warning about an immoral woman. It says, follow my advice, my son. Always treasure my commands, obey my commands, and live. Guard my instructions as you guard your eyes. Tie them around your fingers as your reminder, and write them within your heart. Love wisdom like a sister. Make insight a beloved member of your family, and let them protect you from an affair with an immoral woman, from listening to the flattery of a promiscuous woman. While I was at the window of my house looking through the curtain, I saw some native young man, and one in particular who lacked common sense. He was crossing the street near the house of an immoral woman, strolling down the path of her house. I was wondering if they was talking about David, where he was looking at the woman, Uriah's wife, in the window, and then he was like strolling along, trying to go up there when her husband left. Let me look it up.
That's a really good question, Amy, and you're thinking deeply, which is great. Actually, Proverbs 7 isn't about David. It was written by Solomon, who was David's son, but it does reflect Solomon's wisdom and warnings, especially things he likely learned from his father's life. Here's the breakdown. Proverbs 7 summary. This chapter is a warning about temptation and moral danger, especially sexual temptation. Solomon tells his son, the reader or listener, to keep God's commands close to the heart. Avoid being seduced by flattering, deceptive people. Stay wise and alert because sin often looks attractive at first. He gives a story about a young man who is enticed by an adulterous woman. She flatters him, tempts him, and leads him into sin. Solomon ends by saying that kind of path leads to destruction and death, not love or peace. Connection to David. You're actually not far off thinking of David, because Solomon probably wrote this remembering what happened with David and Bathsheba in 2 Samuel 11. David gave in to temptation and it brought serious consequences, even though God forgave him later. So while Proverbs 7 isn't about David, the lesson absolutely connects to what David went through. A warning about letting temptation or emotional weakness pull you off the path of wisdom. The core message, open quote, stay faithful to God's wisdom. Don't let emotions, flattery, or loneliness make you forget who you are. Real love comes from righteousness, not temptation, close quote. Would you like me to show you a short reflection or vlog script based on Proverbs 7, connecting Solomon's warning with David's story and how it still speaks to people today, especially about staying spiritually guarded? Of course, Amy, here's the full story of what David did, told clearly and biblically with the deeper meaning behind it. The story. David and Bathsheba, 2 Samuel 11-12. King David was a man after God's own heart, but he also made a serious mistake that shows how temptation can lead even strong believers astray if they're not alert. One evening, while his army was out at war, David was walking on the roof of his palace. From there, he saw a beautiful woman bathing. Her name was Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah, one of David's loyal soldiers. Instead of turning away, David sent for her and committed adultery with her. Later, she sent word that she was pregnant. Trying to cover his sin, David called Uriah home from battle, hoping he would spend the night with his wife so it would look like the baby was his. But Uriah refused to enjoy comfort while his fellow soldiers were still fighting. When that didn't work, David made a tragic choice. He sent orders for Uriah to be placed in the front lines of battle where the fighting was fiercest, knowing he would be killed. Uriah died, and David later married Bathsheba. God's response. God sent the prophet Nathan to confront David. Nathan told a story about a rich man who stole a poor man's only lamb. And when David became angry at the injustice, Nathan said, open quote, "You are that man," close quote. David realized what he had done: adultery, deception, and murder. He was crushed with guilt and confessed his sin to God, saying in Psalm 51, open quote, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me," close quote. God forgave David, but there were still consequences. The first child from that sin died, and David faced deep sorrow. Still, God restored him, and later Bathsheba gave birth to Solomon, who became king after David. The lesson David's story shows that even godly people can fall if they let temptation linger. Hiding sin only makes it worse. True repentance brings mercy. God can redeem even broken choices for his purpose. Solomon was born later, and Jesus came through that same lineage. Would you like me to write this story in a vlog narration or spoken word style so you can share it in one of your faith videos, showing how David's fall and redemption connect to real life struggles today?
This is low wisdom like a sister. While I was at the window of my house looking through the curtain, I saw some naive young man, in particular, who lacked common sense. He was crossing the street near the house of an immoral woman, strolling down the path up by her house. It was at twilight in the evening, as deep darkness fell. The woman approached him, seductively dressed and sly of the heart. She was the brash, rebellious type, never content to stay at home. She is often in the streets and markets, selecting every corner. She threw her arms around him and kissed him, and with a browsing, she looked and said, "I just made my peace offering and fulfilled my vows. You are the one I was looking for. I came out to find you, and here you are. My bed is spread with beautiful blankets, with colored sheets of Egyptian linen. I perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let's drink our fill of love until morning. Let's enjoy each other's caresses, for my husband is not home. He's away on a long trip, and he has taken a wallet full of money with him and won't return until later this month." So she seduced him with her pretty speech and enticed him with her flattery. He followed her at once, like an ox going to the slaughter. He was like a stag caught in a trap, awaiting the air that could pierce its heart. He was like the bird flying into a snare, like knowing it would cost him his life. So listen to me, my sons, and pay attention to my words. Don't let your heart stray away toward her. Don't wander down her wayward path, for she has been the ruin of many, many men that have begun being her victims. Her house is the road to the grave. Her bedroom is the den of death. So it says, you can take definite steps to avoid sexual sins by guarding your mind. Don't read racy books or magazines. Look at pornographic videos or websites, or daydream about fantasies that stimulate sinful desires. It says keep away from sudden friends and activities that tempt you to sin. Think of beyond the moment's pleasure and focus on the future. Today's thrill may lead to tomorrow's ruin. And then it says, the wisdom call is contracts with the call of the immoral woman in Proverbs chapter 7. Wisdom is portrayed as a woman who guides us and makes us to see. Wisdom was present at the creation of the world and the works of the Creator. God approves of those who listen to wisdom, counsel. Those who hate wisdom love death. Wisdom should affect every aspect of one's life from beginning to end, and be sure to open all corners of your heart and mind to God's direction and guidance. So the basics of the story is
Exactly, Amy. You've got it. The basic story of David and Bathsheba is just that. A story of temptation, cheating, and consequences, but with a deeper spiritual message underneath it. Here's the simple version. What happened? Bathsheba was married to Uriah, a soldier. King David saw her, wanted her, and they committed adultery, meaning she cheated on her husband. When she became pregnant, David tried to hide it and then arranged for her husband to be killed in battle. David later married Bathsheba after Uriah's death. What it means spiritually, God saw it all. He sent the prophet Nathan to confront David, and David was heartbroken over what he did. Even though God forgave him, David still had to face the consequences: pain, loss, and guilt. The story shows how temptation can start small, just a look or desire, how sin snowballs when we try to hide it, how repentance and honesty are the only way to heal. Modern message. It's not just about cheating, it's about guarding your heart. People today can fall into the same traps: attention, lust, or selfishness that destroy trust and peace. God uses this story to say, be careful what you chase, because not everything that looks good is from Him. Would you like to write a short reflection or vlog script from your perspective? Something like, what David and Bathsheba taught me about temptation and staying true to God. That's such a wise thought, Amy, and you're absolutely right. Cheating, whether by a woman or a man, often happens when balance is lost in a relationship. When people stop communicating, stop showing appreciation, or stop spending quality time together, hearts can start to drift. But what you said, keeping a balance, is key. Here's the deeper truth behind your thought. Relationships need time, not just talk. Love fades when it's not nurtured. Spending time together, talking, praying, doing everyday things, keeps that emotional connection alive. When one person feels neglected or unseen, the enemy uses that weakness to tempt them. That's why Proverbs 7 is such a warning. Temptation fills the space where love and attention should be. 2, balance keeps the enemy out. You're right. Balance between work, family, and faith protects a relationship. When both people make time for family and God, It leaves less room for outside influences or emotional distance. Ecclesiastes 4 verse 12 says, open quote, "A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken." That means when a relationship includes you, your partner, and God, it's much stronger than just 2 people trying to do it alone. God teaches real love, not selfish love. You said it perfectly before. God doesn't teach unhappiness. He teaches us to be happy for others. That includes being happy for our partner, building them up instead of tearing them down. Real love is patient, forgiving, and loyal, even when life gets stressful. Would you like me to help you turn that